Hello, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Ojiako podcast. Hope you're all well. Yes, I'll get straight into it. Better late than never for uploading this podcast. At least when I upload it here in the UK, it will be better late, but better late than never. So the UFC so far this year have been very busy putting on an event every other weekend this year. Coming up is the new event UFC Vegas 21. So, I mean, I've never really done this properly before, predicting fights, who's going to win. I sort of feel very much like a novice in the sport, in this game, even as a mere fan. But based and just judging what I've seen from the past fights of the athletes that are going to be at least on the main card for the upcoming UFC Vegas 21 event, I'll give my predictions, my previews, the best I can. So on the main card, I'll start from the bottom, working my way up. We have Eric Anders versus Darren Stewart in the middleweight division. So I was just looking back at some of the other, just comparing the two guys. So Eric Anders, I just looked at one of his old fights when he fought Krzysztof Jotko at UFC on ESPN 8. Now, this guy, I can see that he does like to close the distance for his opponent. Just when he's fighting his opponent, gets as close as he can to his opponent, and doesn't give his opponent much room. There are other opponents that do that, but specifically speaking about this guy, he gets in there. He puts pressure on his opponent, as I've heard some commentators say, commentators such as Joe Rogan and DC and Dominic Cruz. Not giving the opponent any breathing space at all, gets in there, dishes out those heavy blows and strikes, and before you know it, they're going in. He goes in for a clinch or at least for a takedown. In this fight, at least based on what I saw, he was difficult to take down when his opponent, when Jotko was trying to take him down and keep him on the ground, and even when he he's difficult to take down. And even when he's difficult to keep down on the canvas. Some fighters of course, when you got the opponent down on the ground, especially if you're on the much more advantageous position on top of them, you try and hold them down and try and get them into a position they can start striking their face. And this, in his particular case, at least for this fight, when he fought Krzysztof Jotko UFC on ESPN 8, he didn't give his opponent an easy time, basically. Can I say stand-up is good? I think every fight. I could say that every fighter's stand-up could be good. Their striking could be good. Their leg kicks, their calf kicks, their body kicks, their shots, and it could be good. Their spinning elbows. I could say that about striking, because striking is easy. No, scratch that. It's not easy. As I'm learning now in my boxing, kickboxing classes with my coach, it's not so straightforward. You have to position your feet in a certain way, position your body in a certain way, and make sure breathing is done appropriately so that you don't gas out or get tired. So when I say that striking is easy, no, I think for most people their striking could be good. And when I'm talking about the professional athletes in combat sports, and no offense to him, but someone like Ben Askren, he's known for his really woeful striking. And no, I'm not going to diverge onto that, but when I say stand-up is good, striking, not everyone's striking is going to be good. I was about to, fall into that trap of saying everyone's striking can easily be good, because it's something just made you do, but just throwing your fists this way direction, whatever. But you've got to make sure that you do it in such a way that you deliver the strike well, and you achieve the purpose of attacking your opponent. So, moving on. This guy also, I can see from this fight with Jotko, he likes to get his opponents in a clinch or a takedown. And before he does, what I can see in this fight, before he does move in for a takedown, he likes to start off with some strikes, with some counter strikes, just to kind of to break them down, make it easier to go in there for a takedown. And in that fight, he did win by unanimous decision. Although I have to say that while I was watching it, I actually was under the impression that no, let me get this right. No, Anders did not win that fight. Jotko won by unanimous decision. I thought Anders would have won just by watching his performance and how many shots and his overall attacking, his strategy. I thought that he won, but that wasn't the case. So moving on to the other guy on the same card, Anders will be fighting. He's going to be going up against Darren Stewart. And looking at Darren Stewart's fighting, just his how he fights. Looking at UFC Vegas 11 when he fought Kevin Holland, his striking is good. I thought his striking was really good. Good kicks, especially the low kicks, and I think I heard one of the commentators say that Stewart has never been knocked out, and this fight particularly was a close fight. But to my surprise, Holland did win this fight by a split decision. And just looking at the two guys, though they haven't fought each other yet, just looking at the performance against completely different opponents, I think I'm just going to come out and say it. People can bash me if they want to. This is just my own opinion. I think potentially Anders will beat Stewart with a takedown and a TKO. And he won't be able to get in there just to close that gap, close that distance, and just take his opponent down. That's my opinion. I mean, there are some fights that I've watched before in the past, and I thought one particular opponent would win. I thought that Israel Adesanya back at UFC 259 would actually beat Jan Blachowicz. Many people did, but that wasn't the case. So in this sport, anything can happen. Either one of the fighters can change things, and even when it's at the last minute, the dying minute. Moving on to on the main card, we've got Matthias Nicolau versus Manuel Cape, the men's flyweight division. So Matthias Nicolau, he fought Louis Smolka at UFC 219. Now this guy, can see when he was fighting this particular opponent back at UFC 219, he was quite evasive in the cage, almost like Dominic Cruz, how he was fighting TJ Dillashaw at one of his past fights. The way he fights he fought in this particular fight, it's kind of coming up. Just how do I say this without sounding too wordy or too silly? It was kind of like quickly moving in for a jab, for a strike, for a kick, and quickly just jumping back out. That's that sort of stance. Being, let's say, quite evasive, also quite evasive with the striking, quickly dashing in there for a kill, for an attack, and quickly backing out to avoid being attacked. His striking seemed good. At one point, he managed to get his opponent on the floor. He managed to get Smolka on the ground with a nasty mean left hook, and he got Smolka on the floor a second time again, and this time it was with a heavy right hand. And say from that fight, his ground game was like I say, it's good, but I know I'm entitled to my opinion, but this is a sport whereby I know that, or anything really, if you don't know what you're talking about, people will be offended. They will come out and they will give you a piece of their mind. So I'm still very apprehensive about what I say, but take my opinion for what it is. And now in that particular fight, Nicolau did win by unanimous decision. And now his opponent, Manuel Cape, looking at his past performance with the opponent Alexandre Pantoja at UFC Vegas 18, he moves really well. Seemed quite, I use the word evasive. Always on the go, never standing in one place. And in that fight, I could see his guard wasn't really up at all in comparison to his opponent Pantoja, whose his hands were always up. His guard was Cape's guard was always seems down, at least below the area that's most, let's say, vulnerable. You're facing your head. Overall, the fight was pretty close. I mean, Pantoja did win that fight by unanimous decision, but out of these two, who do I think would win? Careful what I say here. I think it would be a close fight. because both guys are good at their striking, which is forms part of your stand up. I think it'll be a close fight. So I mean, who do I put my money on? I think I'm gonna go with Nicola, because those two punches, those two hooks, the left hook and then the right hook, that he used to floor when I say floor, to get someone on the ground, basically. It's like a slang we use here in the UK. It's British slang. When someone gets floored, they've been hit so hard that they fall down on the floor. That's what it means, basically, when I say someone's been floored. I think probably Nikolu, Matthias Nikolu, probably might win this one at UFC Vegas 21. But who knows? Wait and see. It could be a close fight. It could even be a draw. Who knows? I mean, both of them are such good fighters from what I saw, and I do pay attention to their last fight. They in MMA they do say that you're only as good as your last fight, which isn't necessarily true, but I think they say that because it gives a good idea of where you're at, capability wise, performance wise, and talent wise. Just how good your fighting is, where it's at the moment in your career and in the sport. Moving on up, it's Jonathan Martinez versus Davy Grant. Now that's going to be the bantamweight division for the men. Now Martinez has 13 wins and 3 losses, whilst Davy Grant has 12 wins and 4 losses. So looking at Martinez in his last fight with Andre Ewell, UFC 247, and looking at just at the end of it, I mean, Ewell did win via split decision, and I have to say that I share Martinez's shock in the cage. And I think I just watched these fights. Was there booing? Yeah, there was booing actually. There was booing. I was going to pronounce my words properly. There was booing in the audience. UFC 247. Yeah, there was booing in the audience because well, I don't know why they're booing exactly, but no, they're probably booing because they didn't agree with the judges' final decision. We all won by split decision, but overall, the performance in the cage in the fight there, Martinez was very dominant in the fight. It didn't give Ewell any room at all. He was always going in for an attack. His clinching was good, stand up was good. I thought the fight would be so close. Would have been close, but I thought overall still Martinez would have come out on top. And even at the end of the fight, when the judges had announced the decision and Bruce Buffer had announced it over the microphone, I share Martinez's frustration there, because I could see he turned and just walked off. He was really shocked and surprised. I was surprised as well, because I thought his performance was really dominating, and he dominated the fight, and he was really, really good. But sometimes these judges, and it's not uncommon, sometimes these judges don't know what they're doing. Even Dana White is aware of this, that some of these judges are basically, they're in the wrong job. They're in the wrong job, and they are not fully there in this sport. They don't understand how MMA works. Now Martinez is going to be fighting Davy Grant, and Davy Grant, who's an English fighter coming out of the UK from the northeast of England, an area called Durham, near Newcastle. The last fight he had was against was at UFC 251. I didn't write the guy's name properly, which is not good. Just a second, guys. Looking at the fight card. Yes, sorry. Martin Day. Davy Grant, he fought Martin Day at UFC 251. He won by a knockout. In that fight, his striking was good. His stand-up was good. The striking was really good as the fight went on. I mean, he kept on, those punches just kept on coming. He was really dominating and really domineering in the fight. Again, it's one of those fighters that just doesn't give their opponent any room, puts pressure on them, always getting close to their opponent, cornering their opponent in one area of the octagon. And no, he's not one of those fighters that's evasive, doesn't move around a lot, just going in and out for a jab here and there. No, he's very domineering, very dominating. And this fight, overall, I thought it would be a close one, but no, Davy Grant won. But out of the two, who do I think would win? I think it will be close. Some people may disagree with me. Some other MMA fans or veterans or athletes or anyone who has been following this sport far longer than I have, they may disagree with me. That's fine, that's their opinion. But out of these two, Martinez versus Grant, I think actually Martinez may have it. I think Martinez may win. His stand-up's is okay, and but at the same time, I think fighters who have a good ground game, fighters that have good ground, who are good at wrestling, clinching, grappling, I think they've got the advantage that they can take their opponent down, and then while they have their opponent on the floor, they can do some serious damage to their opponent, especially to their head. So, I mean that's my opinion on it, because when it comes to like striking and KOs, I mean you can do this, you can carry out the striking while you've got your opponent on the ground, but which is a lot easier because you have got the advantage, you're on top of them. But if you're standing up, you can still carry out a strike or striking or KO, or you can still use your fists to attack them and even finish the fight with a nasty knockout. But again, they've got the advantage to move out. They've got the opportunity, the option of moving out of the way, of being evasive. So in this particular fight, I think Martinez may have it. But again, I've seen this time and time again in this sport. Everybody will think that this person will definitely win. This person has all the advantage, is the favourite to win this fight, and then lo and behold, on the day of the fight, it looks so close that they've got in the bag, and then no, they lose, and everyone's just sitting in awe, in shock, and all those bets you made, you'll be owing people a lot of money. Okay. Now, moving on, we have Dan Iga, or is it Dan Iga, versus Gavin Tucker of the men's featherweight division. So, Dan, I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Dan IGE, Dan Iga, has 14 wins and 3 losses under his belt. Gavin Tucker has 13 wins and just 1 loss under his belt. So, at UFC Fight Island 1, Dan Iga fought Calvin Kattar. And from that fight, I could see that Iga's striking was good, and he seems like someone who's dangerous with his fist. The same sort of impression and opinion that I shared about Gilbert Burns when he fought before, in the lead up and in the run up to his fight against Kamaru Usman. His striking was pretty dangerous. At the same time, but Qatar's stand-up was at the same time pretty good. The fight did look like it would be close. Both sides had really, really good striking. Both sides were really going at it, and there weren't too many takedowns in the fight itself. But overall, Qatar did win by unanimous decision. Gavin Tuck, on the other hand, now there's 2 fights I looked at. There's two fights that I looked at where this guy's concerned. The first fight, he didn't come off so well, which was UFC 215. And the second fight, he came off very, very well, like he'd learned a lot. UFC 215, which was in 2017, and then UFC 240, which was like a year later in 2019. Now, I say that the first one, UFC 215, he came off really badly and this was actually hinted at by one of the commentators, which I think was Joe Rogan. He said that the biggest letdown that Tucker had in this fight, which was against Rick Glenn, was that at the beginning of the fight, he'd really used up so much of his energy and his strength. He had gassed out, as we say in MMA, as they say in MMA. I don't think I'm there yet. He had gassed out so quickly by using so much of his energy with the counter strikes and the striking that as the fight was going on, you could see that he was getting sluggish, especially towards the end, whereby Glenn was just, and people even saying it. I think it was Joe Rogan or some of the commentators were saying that they should really think of stopping this fight. And I could see it myself. Tucker was getting really hurt, really injured, and just in the last 2 to 1 minute of the final round, he was just really defending himself as best he could, not fighting back, no striking kicks or anything at all. He was just trying to protect his bloodied face and his bloodied face and upper body as best as he could. And the other guy's just, it's a fight game, so the other guy's just finishing the fight as best as he could. He could see that it was winning, that he could see that Tuck was badly injured, and at first it seemed that Gavin Tucker, his stand-up was good, but towards the end you could see he was getting much more tired, much more sluggish, and his striking was just really not on point anymore. And towards the end, he was just a bloody mess. So obviously in that fight, Rick Glenn came as the victor. Now the next fight where Gavin Tucker actually showed that he had learned a lot from the Rick Glenn fight was the next fight, UFC 240, which again I'm assuming was in 2019. So the first round, he didn't start it off too strong like he did in his last fight, UFC 215 against Glenn, which was a smart thing to do. And I should start again by saying it was UFC 240. He fought Sung-Woo Choi, a mixed martial arts fighter coming out of South Korea. I think in this fight he actually fought a lot more smartly, a lot more wisely. We saw more takedowns and much more takedowns in comparison to his last fight, which was against Rick Glenn. We saw a much better example, much better representation of his ground game. It was a lot better, and we still saw that progressing much more into the second round. So overall, if just comparing Tucker against Ike, who would have this fight at UFC Vegas 21, I think probably, I think I can safely say probably it's Tucker. I think probably Gavin Tucker would win the fight. His striking, I'd say his striking is good. I think he'll be wise enough now, just with the lessons he learned with the fight he had against Rick Glenn. He'll be a lot wiser in how he uses his energy for the punches and the strikes. So I mean, if he performs the way that he performed at UFC 240 against Sung-Woo Choi, then I think the fight he has against Dan Ige shouldn't be a problem. I mean, it's my opinion that he will win because obviously his performance against Sung-Woo Choi at UFC 240, the takedowns, we saw a lot more takedowns against Sung-Woo Choi than we did against Rick Glenn. So not saying that it means anything. Anything can happen. Either fights can change their circumstance in that fight. So wait and see what happens. But if I was forced to place a bet on who would win this fight, I would go with Gavin Tucker. Okay, and I think the main event on the card. No, sorry, not there quite yet. So moving up, we've got the co-main event, which is we have the co-main event, which is Misha Sokonov versus Ryan Spann. So Sokonov has 15 wins on his belt and 5 losses, while Spann has 18 wins and 6 losses on his belt. Now these guys are fighting in the light and heavyweight division. So looking at Sokonov, his fight against Jimmy Crute, UFC Fight Night 158, Jimmy Crute, an Australian mixed martial arts athlete. So in that fight, Misha's ground game looked good. He has this. Looking at him, he has the size and that stature and the height for good ground game to get a good takedown in or clinch, to grapple well. He has the height and size to get someone taken down onto the canvas floor and keep them there whilst you're either getting them into. No, I can't be careful what I say. Keep them there while you're dishing out strikes and finally getting them into a submission. Now in this fight, he did, surprisingly, something I've seen with certain fighters, like we saw with Islam Makhachev when he's fighting Drew Dober just at UFC 259. In each round, and that Dober was kept for each of those 3 rounds. Dober was kept on the ground. So again, likewise when we saw with Sokunov versus fighting Crute, Sokunov did keep Crute on the ground for a long while, and he won by getting Crute into submission via the Peruvian necktie. That's a new, that's actually a new particular move that I've actually learned today just by watching this particular fight. Now his opponent Ryan Spann, his fight against Johnny Walker, UFC Fight Night 178. Now Spann didn't win this fight, Walker won, but overall, Spann does seem to have good counter striking, good striking. His ground game, his clinches, that seemed good. He did lose the fight, however, by knockout elbows and punches. Now, from what I saw, he had Spann had Walker by the fence in a clinch, but somehow Walker managed to just slide free himself a little bit and just managed to get some good strikes and some good elbows in there. And just I think as he hit Spann with an elbow, Spann just kind of like crumpled to the just let go, loosened his grip and crumpled to the floor, and just Walker finished the fight. But out of the 2 guys, Sokunov versus Spann, I think Sokunov will win. He has the size to issue a good takedown and keep his opponent on the floor, and from there, whilst he's pinning his opponent to the floor, do some serious harm to the person's face with strikes and elbows, whatever, just attacks. God, this business of saying is really, really. I'm sorry, guys. It's a bad habit that I'm really trying to stop. So last but not least, we have the main event: Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammad, the men's welterweight division. So Edwards has so far 18 wins and 3 losses on his belt, and Muhammad has 18 wins and 3 losses beneath his belt. Is that really true? It seems symmetrical. No. Just checking that I got that information correct. But anyway, looking at Leon Edwards, who has not fought for a long while now, since I think July or June of 2019. I think on 3 or 4 occasions he's had his fight with Hamza Chimaev rescheduled on multiple occasions. And I mean, so he's not fought for a long while, and that's something that fighters really do hate. So looking at his last fight, which was against Rafael dos Anjos at UFC on ESPN 4, at the start of the fight, he didn't waste any time getting the takedown in. His ground game seemed really good. He kept his opponent pinned on the ground for a long while, and his stand-up seemed okay. Was good striking, and he won that fight by unanimous decision. And his opponent Belal Muhammad, the last fight that I saw of him, which was at UFC 258, so not too long ago. Now he seems just in the fight there, for every single round he was very domineering. Didn't give his opponent any room at all, not evasive whatsoever. He cornered his opponent. And let me go back and say, UFC 258, Belal Muhammad fought Diego Lima. He's really domineering with his opponent, dominated his opponent, cornered his opponent on one side of the octagon, and was always hot on his opponent's heels. He wasn't evasive whatsoever, and he was always close, at all times. And as the commentators were saying, he was always putting that pressure on his opponent, never giving his opponent any room at all. His stand-up was good. His striking was really, really good. And the leg kicks that Liam kept on sending his way, it didn't seem to do Muhammad any damage. Or he didn't even flinch. But you could tell there's only so much you can take when it comes to physical attacks. Everybody has their limit. So in the first round, he kept Liam cornered in one area of the octagon, and at one point there was a move that he did make whereby it looks like he was about to strike his opponent, but then faked it and then went in for a clinch instead. So that was really good. That was really slick. And in this fight, the only damage he took really was just 2 accidental eye pokes. But overall, and he won by unanimous decision. Now, overall, who do I think would win? Edwards versus Muhammad. After seeing what I've seen of Bilal Muhammad and seeing what I've seen of Leon Edwards is a tough opponent, tough fighter. And I think I can safely say that even as a novice MMA fan. My money's on Bilal Muhammad to win this fight. Yeah, from what I saw, how he fought Diego Lima, the dominance, the stand-up, the clinches, just how he's very, very domineering and how he dominates the fight. How he almost cornered his opponent. His opponent didn't really have anywhere to move or didn't have any chance to be evasive. Muhammad doesn't seem to be an evasive fighter either. So my money is definitely on him to win this fight against. Excuse me. My money's on Bilal Muhammad to win this fight against Leon Edwards at UFC Vegas 21. And yeah, that's my opinion. If you think I'm wrong or if you think I'm stupid for having that opinion, please share your opinion in the comment section if you're watching this on YouTube. Okay. So, now there's still been a lot of to and fro about what happened at UFC Vegas 259 between Petr Yan and Aljamain Sterling. So, especially because of what happened, what Aljamain Sterling did after the fight, and even though again the win was given to him because of it was an illegal move by Petr Yan, many people are querying, well, why did you go out of your family? And if you mean not because the win was given to him, no, let me say that properly. If he was so concussed and was showing such signs of serious injury while he was in the cage there, why did he go and celebrate with the family later on afterwards? And I've actually spoken with some people about this, people who in the combat sports world, and I've actually been listening to other podcasts as well. And I have to admit that for the sake of his family, who many people have, for something like that, many members of your family, especially those who are close to you and good terms with you, but especially mother, father, brothers and sisters, they're going to come out and support you. And for them, I think I can say the main thing for them is that you win. If you've won, then it means that all of the hard work you put in, the training, the cutting weight, making weight, all of that, none of that has been in vain. You've achieved success. All of the hard work and all the things you need to do leading up to that point to win that competition has not been in vain, and it will not be a waste. It was all worth it because it came out achieving success. So I was of the mindset that maybe that whole act in the octagon was actually a fake, but when I think about it now, actually I don't think it was. I think many other fighters will say that. I think people like TJ Dillashaw and even Petr Yan himself was coming out saying on Twitter that was a really good act. You got in really good act you put in there, and the Oscar goes to so and so. And I've been hearing other places that other fighters will do that, but your family are different. They are not gonna think that way of you. They're just really concerned about your success. And even though Sterling didn't look happy about didn't look too happy about how he won the fight, which I completely understand, because for him it wouldn't really feel like a win. It will feel like the win, feel like the trophy was handed to him, whereby he didn't have to work and suffer to make his mark, to actually to achieve that win. I can understand that, but Dana White did say that he is going to make arrangements for them to have a rematch. So I don't think all is not lost where this fight is concerned. And I have to say that where Petr Yan's concerned, I think I have to backtrack on certain things that I said in my last podcast. How can you be fighting in this sport for this long, especially in an organization such as the UFC, the biggest fighting promotion in the world? They still hold that position, that top spot at number one. Well, someone did point out to me that I think he took kind of direction from his corner. I think he didn't see that Aljamain Sterling's knee was still on the ground. This is what I've been hearing from someone else, and it may well be correct. So that's the reason why he did what he did. And he said the reason why he was holding his hand up and whilst they were announcing the winner was because he thought the whole thing would result in a no contest. So, but again, I think I'm just giving out some updates on things that I've been hearing in the MMA news. So yeah, in other news, Dan Hardy, who is an athlete who I've not been following that much. He's an athlete, an mixed martial artist coming out of the UK, so I'm surprised myself that I've been living in this country all my life and I never heard of him. But he was recently fired from the UFC and from BT Sport. This was due to an incident that had happened in the Middle East at Abu Dhabi. I think he had a falling out with a female employee there, and I think they just had to let him go. He's been sacked from the UFC, I think, I'm not sure, I think it's for training or for broadcasting on behalf of the UFC with BT Sports. And he's been sacked on that side of things, but he still has an active fight contract with the UFC. So guys, I don't think there's anything else. No, there's nothing else that I have to go. I think I've rambled on for long enough. If you do like the podcast, please don't forget to leave a like and don't forget to subscribe. You can follow me on Instagram. My name is Ojiako1, and on Twitter my name is Ojiako. And you can also the podcast upload to Spotify, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, and I'm still working on the iTunes podcast thing. It's something so easy to do that it's gonna happen. I'm gonna get it done. So guys, take care and thanks.